There was once a time, before game consoles and £1,000 gaming PCs, that all we had to our disposal for entertainment was our dad's iPhone 4. Before the FIFAs and the Fortnites and the Call of Duties took over our teenage lives, came Dream League Soccer, Score Hero, and many, many more. And today, we're going to be looking at where football mobile games came from, how they took the gaming world by storm, and what happened to them ever since its peak in the mid-2010s. We'll be going on a bit of a nostalgia trip through some of my personal favourites, some of the forgotten giants of the industry, and a few of the biggest games to ever touch the App Store that still hold strong today. One of the first football games to be available on mobile phones that I could find was actually FIFA itself. In 2002, EA Sports released FIFA Football 2003 Mobile International Edition. Of course, watching footage of the game back now shows just how far the industry has come in just over 2 decades, graphics wise. But at its time, this was groundbreaking, as it came 5 years before the release of the iPhone. FIFA continued releasing mobile titles, but during this time, another game would emerge. In 2004, Gameloft would release the first installment in their Real Football franchise, Real Football 2004. This game was instantly a hit, as it was actually somehow better than FIFA Mobile. Of course, at this time, FIFA Football was the undisputed GOAT of the football video game industry. However, Gameloft saw a gap in the mobile market to create the first 3D football mobile game. Whilst EA had been focused on refining and innovating their console games, Real Football was doing the opposite, putting all of their time and energy into the phone market. So much so that you can see the difference between FIFA's first 2 Java installments and their 2005 one, after Real Football had released. So far, these two were the only games really creating a stir in the industry. Although Sega's Football Manager released a successful handheld edition on the PlayStation Portable in 2006, it doesn't really count though, as the PSP was just a console which was ahead of its time, rather than a mobile device. However, once the iPhone and its iOS released, everything changed. You can now play 3D games with advanced graphics and mechanics whilst pressing what you wanted your character to do on the screen itself, rather than on a keyboard or a controller. Of course, it will take a while for game developers to perfect their craft on this new and constantly developing device. So let's fast forward a few years to the beginning of the 2010s. This is around the time when I first started getting exposed to the world of online football games. The first game I can remember playing was Real Football 2012. Of course, it's been so long since I last played it, so for the purpose of this video, I went on YouTube to see some past footage, just to remind myself, and I was actually shocked at how good the graphics were for 2012. I mean, compared to the FIFA version, and honestly, I pick Real Football. Unfortunately though, after Real Football 2013, it seemed as though EA caught up, as they realised how high the demand for mobile games were, and Real Football just couldn't keep up with classics such as FIFA 14 and 15 Mobile, which I'll talk about more later. So Gameloft kept releasing Real Football games, but they were seemingly getting worse year after year, proving that there was no passion behind the project anymore. And sadly, Real Football ended after its 2022 installment, marking the end of one of the true pioneers of the industry. After the releases of FIFA 14 and 15 Mobile, every game developer knew that there was no way of competing directly against them. The high quality graphics and online features were something only billionaire companies such as EA could afford and sustain. You could no longer make a game better for purely playing 11v11 like Gameloft did with Real Football. Therefore, smaller programmers knew they had to do something different to stand out. This is when you started to get some serious innovation in the football mobile game niche, and this is what led to what I and many others see as the golden age for the industry. For example, Score World Goals was a game where you could recreate the most famous World Cup goals in history, and this concept eventually led to the release of Score Hero in 2015, a rudimentary yet addictive player career mode type game where players could level up to achieve new accessories for their player. Such a simple idea has resulted in 1.7 million reviews on the App Store, meaning it has become one of the biggest mobile games in history, full stop. New Star Soccer was also another game which incorporated the player career aspect by including other features in the game outside of playing football, such as gambling, buying property, and dating as well. Other apps such as Headball 2 utilise multiplayer features to create a fun and sociable 1v1 game where friends can play with each other on either the same or different devices in a tense yet hilarious format. And Dream League Soccer, which took elements from FIFA's Manager career mode and improved them by allowing you to create your own club and make decisions about your stadium and team, which then enhanced your performance on the pitch. All of these games have stood the test of time, having been downloaded and played by millions of people around the world. In 2016, EA Sports announced FIFA Mobile, replacing the traditional yearly release with a completely new game dedicated for mobile devices. This change was controversial, as many, including me, preferred the original version. It was also around this time that football management games became increasingly popular, whether it was traditional PC games integrating with new phone and tablet technology, such as Football Manager Touch and Champ Manager, releasing these more condensed and compatible versions in 2015 and 2013, or completely new titles like Top 11 or Football Chairman. These management games found new target audiences that preferred more laid-back, tactical and analytical gameplay. One of the most interesting examples is OSM, otherwise known as Online Soccer Manager. It's a game where you can join real-life leagues online with strangers or friends, but what makes it unique is that you have to wait a day between matches. This is great for players who don't like getting addicted, as you can just hop on for half an hour at a time, train your players, upgrade your stadium, sign a couple more players, do your team, and you're good to go for the day. Of course, it would be rude not to mention games like Pacey Bits 18, 19 and 20, which were extremely popular for condensing FIFA Ultimate Team down into a mobile app. It's allowed you to feel the rush of packing a team of the year or an icon and complete high-rated foot drafts without you having to spend all the time and money on the real game. Rest in peace, Pacey Bits. You'll never be forgotten. And honestly, I could go on about all the games that were released during this mid to late 2010s period, but I can't, because otherwise this video would be over 10 hours long. However, what I also can't do is go through all of the football apps that have released since that period, because then the video would stop right here. This brings me to my next point. Football games suck now. Try and name me one good football mobile game since, let's say, 2020. I don't think you can. And look, maybe it's because I got older and stopped playing games on my phone, or maybe it's because I no longer get the satisfaction out of them that I used to. But even if I've outgrown them, it doesn't explain why. When you look at the top football games on the App Store, most of them were there 5 to 10 years ago, and the ones that are new just repeat tried and tested formulas. There's no innovation in the industry anymore. But why? See, I think it's not just me and my generation that's outgrown them. The next generation hasn't even grown into them. The rise of TikTok and short form content means kids don't play football games on their phones or tablets anymore, because they're just hooked on Instagram Reels. So as a game developer, why would you try and risk losing money on creating innovative and game-changing apps in an industry which is declining in popularity and player base? As well as this, games like Score Hero and Headball had much more space in terms of niches to expand into. Everything now is just too saturated for a new big idea. Another key issue is licenses, as to compete with the biggest games, you want to get the biggest names, and that costs, money, which obviously is something many independent game developers don't really have much of a surplus of. Another thing is that excitement around football seems to be falling, whether that be due to a shift in generations, where most of our favourite stars from our childhoods are retiring, or any other reason. It ultimately feels like many fans prefer to live in the past and the glory days rather than accept the reality of the boring modern game. So why should we give new games a chance when they come out, when we could just hop on Dream League Soccer to relive some good memories? Finally, to end off the video, as usual, let's ask a question. What's the future for football mobile games? To be honest with you, I don't know. I could sit here and say that the whole niche is dead, and it's just a matter of time before no one even cares about the main staples anymore. And I could also argue that this fall in creativity has actually created a gap in the market for coders to exploit, leading to a new revolutionary game. But I just don't know. Mobile games as a whole are just shifting in the wrong direction. Every app feels the same in any category, not just football. So right now, although it's not looking good, you can also never be so sure that something won't change drastically in future. But for now, we'll have to make do with the relics from our childhood that are still holding strong, and with the memories of the ones that we lost along the way.